Welcome to Riders Block. We have an issue with Ryan Lavner. He had to go on the DL, so he has been replaced by our very own Brentley Romine. Brentley, welcome to the Media Center, which I am sitting about 20 yards from. How's the wind in there?
It's a little better than it is outside, but not much. And, hoping Lav's okay, but I don't think this is going to be a Wally Pipp. It's not going to be a Wally Pipp scenario, Rex.
No. He's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure he'll be right back at it Sunday night. It's just the way it works. I think he was actually a little hungover from his trip to Turks and Caicos over the spring breaks. I'm sure that's it. This is your first trip to the match play, and you have been asking some interesting questions today. So this was a topic we wanted to start with. And what kind of reaction are you getting when it comes to the pros and cons of actually having a match play event on the PGA Tour?
It seems like the reception is mixed among the players. I think a lot of players enjoy playing match play, but in terms of the fact that, hey, you play 3 days and you're done and you're going home, I just don't know if it works that well. But I enjoy it. I know from a fan's perspective, it's one of the most exciting formats that we have. But as I was asking the players earlier, I'd like to see some even more unique formats, like a skins game. Remember the old skins game, Rex? I mean, that was some great content. A lot of guys play Wolf back home. I'd like to see that. But hey, if we get 1 week of match play, I think it's better than 0 weeks of match play.
I like the 1 week of match play. I think it's always been a good diversion on a schedule that probably has way too much stroke play on it. I know it's the standard in our game, and I have no problem with that because I think everyone will tell you 72 holes of match or stroke play is the way you crown a champion, and most events are going to look at it that way. I would like to see the old version of match play. We talked about this on Sunday night. This is just a convoluted system, what they've created with the pool play. We're going to get into that later. I don't like that. I like straight knockout. We can talk about it later. But, yeah, I think we can mix it up. I thought you asked Jordan Spieth kind of that question, and his response was probably not going to be a Wolf game, probably not going to be one of those Nassau games he plays with his friends back home. But it seems like there is going to be something changing up, at least in the fall, when we start talking about these events.
Well, there's a reason why even in college golf, the NCAA championship, I mean, we're talking the pinnacle, the most important tournament of the year. There's a reason why they went away from 72 holes of stroke play. It can become a little monotonous. I think it's more exciting. It's a better TV product. And with the way the world is going, with it being so digital and social media and all of that, I just think we should see more of it.
All right, moving on to the other big name in the field, or the big name in the field this week, only because he hasn't played in the better part of 2 months. We haven't seen Bryson DeChambeau since January. He withdrew from the Saudi International with a hand injury. I had a chance to catch up with him today. He said he finally feels like he's in the recovery phase, and he was out. I watched him play a couple of holes. He's not going 100%, but I was impressed with his game. You watched him a little while on the reins. What are your expectations for Bryson this week?
I don't really have high expectations for him just because this is his first event in so long. And with the injury that he has, you reported it today, Rex, he's got a broken hamate bone, which for people who watch a lot of basketball, a lot of hockey, that's an injury that you get when you fall down and you catch yourself. Speaking, with, people who know about that injury, it's one of those where he's probably not going to do much more damage to it. But it is painful and it is uncomfortable. And with golf being such a sport that's crucial that you use your hands, I think he's going to be in for a rough go this week.
He also talked about he has a torn labrum in his left hip, and both of those are concerning. And he said that having surgery on his hand is still an option, something that he said he's probably going to have to look into down the road. But he feels like he's at a point now where he can at least play with an eye towards the Masters. I asked him his expectations point blank this week, and he said just being here is expectations enough. He said he understands that, look, he's going to be rusty. He hasn't had a chance to compete in quite a while, and what he wants to be is somewhere close to 100% by the time he gets to Augusta. It's worth noting that he hadn't even swung a club up until last Tuesday, and that was just irons, and then he eventually worked his way into swinging some drivers on Friday and Saturday, and he hadn't played any round of golf, competitive or otherwise, before he showed up today at Austin Country Club. So as far as expectations go, they have to be pretty low, but it is a good sign that he's actually out on the golf course. It seems like it's not the normal Bryson swing that we're used to seeing trying to hit it to the moon, but it was an aggressive swing. Another player that we're probably going to keep an eye on for all the wrong reasons is Phil Mickelson, who it was discovered that he has withdrawn his name from playing in this year's Masters, that he'd moved to the non-competing list. Augusta did confirm that to various news outlets. What's the significance of Phil not playing the Masters?
Well, it's his first missed Masters since 1993 or 94. But it's, going back to Bryson just for a second, it's clear that how much the Masters means to him. And for Phil, it's equally as important. I mean, he's won 3 green jackets, and I think knowing the significance of that tournament for him, I'm very shocked that he's not playing. I know a lot of us tabbed Augusta as the place where we would see him again. We're talking about a tournament where he doesn't necessarily have to talk to the media, a tournament where the patrons are not going to be rowdy. There's not going to be hecklers following him around. It was the perfect spot, you would think, if he wasn't suspended or not. You've reported in the past that he is not suspended, but it's surprising to me.
I wouldn't say it's surprising, simply because he seems to be on the shelf for at least a prolonged period of time before him and Commissioner Jay Monahan end up having whatever conversation they plan on having in the future about a possible suspension, because by all indications, people inside his camp have told me that he has not been suspended yet, that right now this is all of his own accord. I was a little surprised because of what the Masters mean to him and the fact that he still considers himself competitive on certain courses, and Augusta National is going to be one of those courses. We all know that when he shows up there, there's something special about it. That being said, he hasn't finished inside the top, he's finished inside the top 10 once in the last 10 years at Augusta, and that was way behind Jordan Spieth a few years ago. So I don't know if I'm going to stick to that, and I'm not quite sure if his head was even going to be into it, because I'm not quite sure he was going to be able to avoid the media, and there's going to be one too many questions about whatever it is that transpired between he and the Saudi-backed Super League, and I'm sure those are questions he just doesn't want to answer. Moving forward, I am curious how this is going to impact the PGA Championship, because that's not a feel-good story. That's just not a former champion showing up. He's the defending champion, and for him not to be at that one, I think will be key.
Yeah, it's interesting to think, because when was the last time a defending major champion has missed the following year not due to injury?
I mean, I can't imagine it's happened, at least in my lifetime. I don't think it's happened. Not that I can remember.
Yeah, probably never. I mean, we'll have to get the great research folks at Golf Channel, Kevin Casey and the gang, to look that one up. But yeah, at that point, if Phil misses Southern Hills and does not defend the PGA, I think we're really sounding the alarm that something is seriously amiss. But yeah, I mean, that's still a couple months away, and there's a lot that can happen before then. I'm just looking forward, Rex, to him releasing another statement. I mean, the fact that he is not playing the Masters is a huge deal to me, and I'd be curious to see what he has to say and his reason behind that.
Haley, I'm sorry. He's a rookie. He has no idea how this works. The way this works, Brentley, is that when the headline goes away, we stop talking. That's Haley's very, very polite way of telling us to shut up. All right, we're moving on to rapid fire. That's exactly what it sounds like. Rapid fire. Please, we start with who has the best chance to upset an A player in their group this week. Me and Lamner kind of went over this in the podcast, and I think there's going to be tons of upsets. Who you got?
Well, I'll be very brief since I was long-winded before. I'm going to say Richard Bland, simply for the fact that Bryson's banged up. Taylor Gooch could be sneaky, but Lee Westwood is also not in the best of form. And Bland actually made a joke earlier that there's going to be an ambulance following around that match, and whoever finishes wins. So I'm going to go with Bland, man.
I like that one. I started with, and I called this the group of death. I'm still not sure if there's another option. There probably is if I study it a little more. But group one, you're talking about world number one, Jon Rahm. In that group, you have Cameron Young, who seems to be coming into his own. This right now on the PGA Tour. You have Patrick Reed, and we know his pedigree. When it comes to match play, you have Sebastian Munoz, who's playing very, very well. He was in the hunt just a few weeks ago at the Players' Championship. I can see a serious upset from any one of those three players beating Jon Rahm, because this event depends so much on short game, specifically putting. And Jon Rahm talked about it again today. He got a little defensive because I think he's probably being asked one too many times about it. But this is where it's going to be glaring. This is where you're going to have to play well, and you're going to have to make it work. All right, what kind of player plays well at a golf course called at Austin Country Club?
I mean, it really doesn't suit a specific type in terms of, best putter, best iron player, best driver of the golf ball. As we know, a lot of courses on tour really do suit length, and this course certainly no different, but it is different in a way. There's a lot of humps and bumps. There's a lot of intricacies to this course, and I think you've seen it in the past champions and some of the runners up here with Bubba Watson and Jason Day. It's players that can be creative and know how to play this type of game, maybe do well in the winds. I'm looking for types maybe like a Jordan Spieth or a Scotty Scheffler or a Justin Thomas, or even maybe a little bit more of a sleeper, Corey Connors. Played well in the wind at Bay Hill, and I look for him to do well.
I like anyone who's aggressive. I was just walking with Bryson, and we played 12 and 13. And 12 was par 5, downhill, dead into the wind, and it was a 3-shot hole for Bryson, which should have been the only news of the day right there, that there are still par 5s apparently with conditions that are 3-shot holes for Bryson. But then the short par 4 turns back with the wind to your back, and he hit 4-iron into that hole. So it's just, there's so many places here where you can be aggressive and separate yourself from an opponent. So I'm going to go with an aggressive player. All right, big finish, and I touched on it already. It's a trigger conversation for me. Pool play or knockout play? Which one do you like?
I like pool play. I know knockout play is exciting. It's March Madness that we see in college basketball, win or go home. But
turn off this Mark Haley. He's done.
I understand it. Spieth talked about this earlier. You get to the weekend and you only have a handful of golfers left. I mean, there's people and there's sponsors who pay a lot of money. You want the big names around. One change that I would make to it is make this a Thursday through Monday event. We just had a Monday finish at the Players. There's no reason why 2 guys or 4 guys can't come back Monday and play, and this would ensure that you have a full field for Saturday.
No, I get it from the sponsor's point of view. I've understood it from the sponsor's point of view all along that, no, you don't want your Tiger Woodses and your Jordan Spieth and the rest of the top players going down on Wednesday. But what they've done is taken the best Wednesday in all of golf and watered it down into 3 days that normally end, I don't know, with a very, very quiet meh on Friday afternoon, because very rarely are there any surprises. But by the time we reach Friday afternoon, we already kind of knew what each player's plight was going to be based on what they've done in the first 2 days. There's too many players that go 2-1-0. So maybe if you want to stay with pool play, we come up with another option. Maybe we start awarding half points. I don't know if that's the answer or not, but I'd much rather go back to knockout play, and the sponsors just dig it. All right, Brentley, you may or may not be back out of the bullpen on Sunday night. It depends on how Lavner works it out, but now you know what you're doing. I'm looking forward to it next time.
Awesome. I will be sure to keep my eye on the bottom of the screen.
See you Sunday night. Thanks for watching.